First and foremost, we are on a track to recognize Palestine formally.
He's been caught. Welcome back to Moose on Loose. My name's David. Today we got the guy responsible for what happened to Charlie Kirk has been captured. He's now in custody. We've got Mark Carney's Foreign Affairs Minister saying that Palestine being recognized as a state comes first and foremost. We got a bunch of other stuff here. Let's jump into this. The city of Barrie, this fountain in front of City Hall has been found with human doo-doo contamination. Disgusting. We all know how that came to be. It all comes down to sanitation. When you're bringing in people that are not used to the same level of sanitation life, they just go anywhere and everywhere. That's just what it is. That's how life is in South Asia. People will just go drop a hot car wherever they want to do it. There isn't the same rules. We have to have those rules here, otherwise deportation has to commence. That's it. Let me look at this one here. This is also from the city of Barrie. Mayor declares state of emergency over homeless encampments. Our city will not allow lawlessness to take over. They have so many tent encampments. There's people sitting out on the curbs, drinking stumbling juice out in the open, people using glass pipes and all sorts of that kind of stuff, the street candy. They don't know what to do. They're overwhelmed by so much homelessness, despair. It says here under the declaration, city will remove encampments beginning with the ones nearest to critical infrastructure and public spaces. The city will also request Simcoe County open additional shelter space for those living in the encampments. I mean, look what's going on here. Society is falling apart. Got this one from Tim Hodgson making some announcements here. Listen to this nonsense. They're not hiding their agenda anymore. They came out with a $29 million fund for allowing modest homes in Manitoba to be able to retrofit their house for new insulation and heat pumps.
Today, I'm pleased to announce the launch of the Canada Greener Homes Affordability Program, starting right here in Manitoba. This program will deliver over $29 million in federal funding, matched dollar for dollar by the province of Manitoba, so that 7,000 modest income households in Manitoba will be able to access no-cost retrofits that will make their energy bills hundreds of dollars cheaper, their homes more comfortable, and their carbon footprint smaller.
There it is. It's all about carbon footprint.
The program will also provide direct funding to Indigenous organizations to roll out energy efficiency programming for their communities. Through an innovative delivery model, homeowners, and for the first time for a Natural Resources Canada program, tenants can get energy upgrades to their homes at zero cost to them. These upgrades can include new insulation, sealing unwanted air leaks, and installing heat pumps, amongst other retrofits.
All comes back to the heat pumps, doesn't it? Now, before I blast them on the heat pumps, the environment minister here gets asked about the emissions cap. Listen to what she has to say.
Recent reports that your government is talking with energy companies.
So it's really hard to hear. We got Mr. Bench with it here. Is the Carney government looking at removing the energy cap on emissions in the oil and gas industry to make Canada stronger?
I'm happy to take that question and to say that we've had actually a wonderful time in Alberta as a caucus talking about the issues that are important to all of our caucus members, which includes fighting climate change, which we know when we hear from our communities is a central issue that they want to see us continue to do, and it's important to the future of our country. So it's been a really wonderful time to come out of those conversations and to be able to answer questions like the one you had today.
There's boglands, peatlands, all our forests. I've already done a video on this. There's a report that came out that Canada's already net zero. If you want to do something, you have to displace another country's emissions like China, and exporting LNG to China and India would be the only play. This is a green grift. They're taking advantage of liberals. Gullible liberals are buying this hook, line, and sinker. We've got a population of sheep who can't think for themselves.
The importance is that we continue as a country to fight climate change and move towards net zero. And that is something that I take as a very serious part of my file every day.
We don't have serious politicians. They're only serious about making money for themselves. Now, if you're new around here, I made quite the startling discovery back maybe a couple months ago when I found out the timing of when Justin Trudeau announced support for heat pumps and then looking at the stock of Trane heat pumps. Who's Trane heat pumps? Well, they're a company that, as you can see, Brookfield invested $1.45 million in.
1 hour later.
Jumping ahead here about an hour, what you guys haven't seen is when I looked at this, it says Brookfield $1.45 million in Trane. I looked at Brookfield's reporting here, and that number didn't match up, and I was confused because this is what I've had on my chart. This was verified off of this same website here, fintel.io. You can see at the top here, Brookfield Asset Management Portfolio Holdings. And now it makes a lot of sense. Brookfield didn't hold a lot of stock in Train, but they had some, $1.45 million. That's not a small amount, but it is a small amount to Brookfield. So after digging around and verifying, what did I find? Well, here it is, Q4 2024. Brookfield's holdings here. If we scroll down, we can find Train Technologies. They held 2.7 million. Now you might be confused. Why does mine say 1.45 million? Because I used a number from last year. But Brookfield has been pumping a lot of money into Train heat pumps. And we see that because, well, first 2.7 with the 2024 quarter 4 report. We've got this one here, which shows Train Technologies right there, $5 million. This is what most websites have right now as their most recent data of what Brookfield holds in Train. But if we look at the most up-to-date one on this Fintel website, which is why I was getting so confused, we scroll down here and where it is, there it is, Train Technologies, just so you can make sure you see there, Train Technologies on the left side. And what do they hold? $83 million now. Brookfield was holding like $1 million and now they hold $83 million in Train Technologies. And you've got Tim Hodgson and Julie DeBruce coming out here and pushing heat pumps. Train's primary business is heat pumps. The initial point I was going to make for anyone who's new out there who hasn't seen my channel, Justin Trudeau made an announcement about the heat pump program at the end of October, I believe October 23rd, which would put it right here. So Trudeau announces heat pump program in Canada, and look what Train stock has done. It went down a little bit towards the election. Carney gets elected. What happens here? Look at this. These guys are making hand over fist over here. Brookfield dumping in the cash on the heat pumps. The question is, when did they go from 5 million to 83 million? Is that what this is here? I have to dig into that later. But I mean, it's just like every day here, these guys are just enriching themselves. It's obvious. Moving ahead, we've got this one here breaking. Canadian Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Nand says recognizing Palestinian state is the priority and Canada is reevaluating its ties with Israel.
I have a question from one of my colleagues in Ottawa for Minister Anand. Are we going to or considering looking at limiting trade with Israel as Brussels is now considering?
So we are ensuring that, first and foremost, we are on a track to recognize Palestine formally.
First and foremost, this is what Canada's priority is to recognize Palestine. Why? Who cares? We have so many problems to fix. We don't have the money to help them out. And the Liberals have made us weak. You know, if we had a conservative government in power, we had prosperity, then maybe we'd have some money to help out people around the world. But we don't. We don't have that money. We're broke.
And that is the work that the Prime Minister and I have been doing over the course of the last number of months, and certainly since July 30th, when we made the announcement relating to recognition. At the same time, we are evaluating the relationship with Israel. And so there are many moving pieces in the Middle East right now. And at the rock bottom, Canada's position is that we need to work for peace in the Middle East, and we need to address the humanitarian situation in Gaza, and that is why Canada is the third highest bilateral donor of humanitarian aid. And we want to see the food trucks being able to pass through on land so that distribution sites can be a place where people who need food can obtain food. At the
You know who needs food? Canadians. Canadians can't afford food. We don't have money for this. I'll give it to her, though. She told the truth here. They are dishing out our money to Gaza. You can see this right here. These are the most recent foreign affair items here. What do we have? Gaza, Gaza, Gaza. The top three here. We've got $2 million, $2 million, and $2 million. You can see the dates here. So back from May, July, and August. So while they're dishing out more money to Gaza, we have stories like this. Some of Canada's latest MAID recipients, an obese woman and a grieving widower. Our government is quite literally ending our own population and then sending our money and trying to help out people on the other side of the world versus helping ourselves. I mean, look at these comments here. I'm a disabled veteran rated at 75% with more pending medical investigation and surgery. I applied for disability tax credit. I submitted medical documents online. Months later, I followed up. They lost the documents. A few weeks later, received a denial letter saying I don't qualify. However, he qualifies for MAID. This is what happens when you have bad politicians running a country. Their ideology is being put ahead of Canadian citizens' best interest. Moving ahead, here's the bad guy that attacked Charlie Kirk, 22-year-old Tyler Robinson. There's quite the story story to this. He confessed to his father, and his father called a pastor who has connections in the government, and then the government came and picked him up. And on top of that, I believe his roommate showed messages in their Discord, and he was talking about where he had stashed his pew-pew in the forest, is wrapped in a blanket and stuff. This guy saying here his son sold him for $100K. There was a $100K bounty for turning him in, so I wonder if his dad is getting that.
TV News international security expert Jeannie Reserve. Jane, good to see you. Appreciate your time on this Friday.
Certainly.
Where does the investigation go from here now?
The big question, of course, is motivation. Why did he do this? We don't know an awful lot about this 22-year-old man who's been taken into custody. We've heard from law enforcement that he allegedly did confess to this crime to a family member who then took it to somebody in law enforcement, and that's how he was nabbed. But what led him to this? That's what we don't know. As you mentioned, there were these engravings reportedly on some of the ammunition and casings that may give some indication that he had anti-fascist ideology. There also have been reports that he had conversations in recent times with family members about Charlie Kirk and about his appearance at Utah State, indicating that he disagreed with him and his point of view. But they're going to be delving more into not only those face-to-face communications he might have had with family members and friends, but also into his online footprint. Had he been communicating with others with similar ideologies? Were there certain websites that he seemed to visit that perhaps incited him and encouraged him to take this course of action? That's the key thing. In addition, they're also going to continue to look for physical evidence that links him to the crime. That will indeed make it easier for them to make the court case against this individual.
We know exactly what happened. Here he is just before he got into university.
Congratulations, you have been selected to receive the Resident Presidential Scholarship from Utah State University. The value of this scholarship is approximately $32,000. This scholarship is available for 4 years or 8.
He went to university, and what did he encounter? People like this Dr. Ruth. I pointed this out in the last video. She needs to be fired. University of Toronto professor. There's so many radical lunatics that are professors shaping minds at universities. Got this one here. Melia Belly Bose, Associate Professor, Art, History, and Visual Studies. What did she say? F around and find out, Charlie. Good riddance. The woke radical left finally sent someone with good aim. When you have people like this in universities across North America shaping minds, as I showed in the previous video, Barbara Perry, PhD professor, the Director Center of Age Bias and Extremism, with her nonsense made up garbage on the CBC, making up complete lies about Charlie Kirk. And Carla here posting the contact information. If you didn't like what was being said on the CBC, you can always contact them and tell them how you feel. This one I showed in the previous video of Hani Fontaine. This is Wabkanu's Minister of Families. We've got Raquel Dancho here calling this out. We got numerous people calling for her to be fired from Wabkanu's government, as she should be. You've got government officials. You've got university professors. Wyatt Claypool posting this one. Morgan Oger sits on the Pride Society board in Vancouver. I am so deeply saddened for the survivors of an extreme right hate monger who found out today. Nobody deserves to lose their breadwinner, and nobody deserves to be married to someone whose D word is ironic karma embodied. There's a lesson here. Never F H word mongering bigots. This person needs to be fired too. We have absolute monsters in high level positions in Canada and America. It's across North America. I mean, look at this nonsense. Somebody 3D printed a model of Charlie after he got pew-pewed. This was the exact pose. Don't go watch the video, but this is the exact pose he was in. It was like his body was like frozen because the metal hit a nerve in the spine and it just seized up. I mean, look what the CBC came out with today. Some of Charlie Kirk's most controversial takes. Slain right-wing activist and commentator relished debate, used his platform to rail against liberal views. Like, what kind of trash is this? These people are deplorable running this organization. We have to pay for this trash as a national broadcaster. So where did it stem? It stemmed from him going to university. And the left are trying to run away with this because his parents, I believe, are Republicans or conservatives. They're saying it's the pew-pew laws in America and it's conservatism and he has nothing to do with the left. It's more misinformation. We don't know what this guy's political views were. Meanwhile, in Markham, we've got 2 men, 2 teens arrested after woman kidnapped, man pew-pewed during home invasion. invasion. Welcome to Canada, where laws don't exist. Meanwhile, in Montreal, what is this? Lion Electric. Remember that company that went out of business? Another one of the government's EV subsidy programs. Here it is, one of their buses on fire. Just imagine if your kids were in that school bus. We've actually got a video of it here. I can't play too much of it, but this is the Lion Electric bus. You can see it catching on fire. Montreal's brand new shiny EV bus. There it goes. Boom, up in flames. As Mark Dixon points out, how many toxic fumes did that pump out? Probably erased 1,000 EV bus emissions in a single fireball. This technology is not proven. This shouldn't be used on school buses. And Calgary ordered 120 electric buses. This video is a metaphor of Canada after a decade of Liberal incompetence. The place is on fire, but the fire department went on vacation. As Alexandra points here, taxpayer money literally going up in flames. And around this one off, we've got Doug Ford, Captain Hypocrite here. This must be his one day of the week he's putting on his conservative hat.
He's getting rid of the EV mandate. We have to make sure it's permanent. I appreciate him listening to me, but he's listening to the sector as well. When you have all the large auto manufacturers saying we aren't going to hit that mandate, that's their goal, obviously, but if you can't hit it, you can't hit it. So we have to make sure that we continue to invest, and I'm glad to see Volkswagen. They're building their 16 million square foot facility. They're moving forward, but government can't dictate. The market dictates. The people dictate, not the government.
Thanks, Dougie. Thanks for nothing. Doug Ford's about as trustworthy as a wet piece of bread. Doug flip-flops more than a liberal. His cottage is likely housing a tremendous cellar of California wines. Government knows best. When I see this, I think Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty back together again. He has fallen so far from what he campaigned on and promised.